Welcome to some new r/petty revenge stories for all the small victories over people that wronged others. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Revenge with a Wallpaper. About 20 years ago, I worked in a local computer shop. There was only a handful of staff and it was very much a friends and family run place. The boss had an acquaintance who will come visit him. Let's call him Dave. He would be in the back area with all of us along with the stock. Because we were all friends, stock checking / keeping was very lapsed, but we trusted one another, so it wasn't a problem. But suddenly things were missing and we couldn't work out what was going on. We all suspected it was Dave, but couldn't be sure. Around that time there was a very popular screensaver doing the rounds. It was a very photorealistic 3D aquarium screensaver by Jim Sachs and everyone wanted it on their PC. I had it on my work PC and when Dave saw it he immediately asked for a copy, to which I refused. He grumbled about it and left. I then had the idea of catching him out. I fired up Visual Basic and made a quick program called Aquarium Screensaver and compiled it with a standard Windows type setup wizard. The setup looked very legit. I then saved it to a floppy. Yes, a floppy, and wrote Aquarium Screensaver on the disk. I then put it on the side and left it. The next day when I got to work, the disk was missing. I asked the boss if Dave had been in, and he had. Now, as you can imagine, I didn't write a screensaver. In fact, I wrote an app to delete all files and folders on any computer that installed it. In the setup terms and conditions, it clearly explains that this is what would happen, and the user agrees to this before installing. Later that day, we get a call from Dave asking to speak to me. Dave asked if I had any problems with the screensaver, as his computer would no longer boot. I said no, it was fine for me, and to perhaps try it on his other computer. A few days later, one of the other staff told him I made this program and he stomped into our shop to face off with me. But he soon backed off when I reminded him I hadn't given him the screensaver. So we proved he was happy to steal something and we got petty revenge. The next story is called Stop Using Your Yard. So, I have lived in a townhouse for the last 3 years. I live with my husband and 2 60-pound dogs. I got attacked by a dog just before my neighbors moved in 2.5 years ago. This left me with a fear of strange animals up until recently when I was able to work through my trauma with my therapist. My neighbors have 4 loud and reactive dogs, 3 Chihuahuas and 1 Australian Shepherd, who charge the fence whenever they see someone on the other side and bark constantly. This had prevented me from using my backyard for the last 2 summers. Now that I have worked past the panic attacks and fear, I am spending a majority of weekends in my yard and letting my dogs go back and forth freely from the yard. My dogs have been well socialized and don't have any interest in the fence when the other dogs are reacting. Up until yesterday, when the neighbors' dogs come out, I would bring my dogs inside, but it would still mean a minute or so for their dogs to calm down. I would let my dogs back outside to play when the neighbors go back in. This was no big deal to me. Now, cue Sunday. The neighbors let their dogs out. They react, I bring my dogs in. Same old routine. Except my neighbor curses me under her breath. Keep your effing door shut. This is not the first time they have been rude either. This got under my skin, considering her dog's reactivity is the reason I did not feel comfortable in my own backyard, and it is not my dogs who are reactive. Plus, I have always been the one to bring my dogs in, not the neighbor, so I've started to be a bit petty. Now, when the neighbor let their dogs out, I stay out and play fetch with my dogs, while her animals are going crazy, instead of bringing my dogs inside as I have always done. My dogs love it, because they are getting more exercise than before. It's only been 3 days, and my neighbor is exasperated and has to chase her dogs around the garden. They also have another dog on the opposite side of them, which they are equally reactive. I have patio furniture being delivered tomorrow, and I fully expect to enjoy my yard to the fullest this summer. After a week or 2, I'll probably put up a visual blockade, so her dogs can see mine to be nice, but I'm not going to restrict my well-trained animals for her untrained ones any longer. Don't appreciate my courtesy? I won't give it. My neighbors decided to cuss me out and tell me to go inside last night. I said no, but put the dogs inside because the neighbors were being aggressive. They said, our dogs should be able to be outside, so we should go inside. I said, your dog's reactivity is not my problem and they are more than welcome to use your yard. The fact they can stop charging the fence long enough to pee is your issue. They shouted at me to get the heck inside. I told them, make me. A bit childish, I know. One told me to meet them out front. I said, no, if you want something from me, climb over this fence yourself. They yelled a bit more and I didn't respond and they went inside after a minute. I think the neighbors have finally cracked a bit and it's only week 1. The last story is called Maintenance Issues. I have rented an apartment in North Texas for almost 2 years and by all metrics am a model tenant. All payments are on time, no noise complaints, and even though water goes on and off, I've chalked it up to they are working on it. Here's where the trouble started. My AC went out on Thursday, so I called our emergency maintenance line, which states that the message will be sent immediately to the on-call staff. This was about 6 PM and no one came to assist. So in the morning I went into the office to ask when emergency maintenance would be by. It turns out there's no on-call staff to handle HVAC, but their contractor was on site and would be by shortly. Around noon my AC was up and running, with the repairman saying he reloaded Freon, which is a red flag to me. Reloading Freon is not a long-term fix and is typically done when repairs can't be completed the same day, so I knew the issue would arise again shortly. Sure enough, Sunday morning saw my AC go out again, and again I placed another emergency ticket. As the closing time for the office approached with no response, I again went in to ask for a status update. Again, I was told it was a contractor and they had no control of his schedule. I asked about accommodations being made, such as a window unit or hotel stay until repairs were complete. Both of these were dismissed as impossible and he'll be with you in the morning. For context, my unit gets over 100 degrees during summer. I purchased a window unit and waited. When Monday came and went, with no maintenance visit, I went in to cancel my lease. I let them know that I would not be paying the early termination fee, on the grounds that I have an uninhabitable unit with no indication of when repairs were to be made. I was told I had to pay the cancel and there was nothing they could do, so I called an attorney. I submitted all documents, including my lease, the complex's own maintenance records that indicate no repairs were made, and email communications. I even sent a recording of the helpline that stated on-staff maintenance would assist. While he reviewed my case, I went to the county courthouse to pick up paperwork for a small claims litigation. My attorney called back and said I may have a case, but I should sit down with the management in good faith. So I scheduled an appointment with the manager for today. When I arrived, I was told she was busy and had to cancel, so I began asking the office staff for the necessary info to begin litigation. Once word got back that paperwork was being filed, suddenly there was an opening in her schedule. In short, I laid out my case and while not airtight, that left them enough exposure they couldn't count on winning. So now I'm out of my lease 3 months early. I was also reimbursed for the window unit. And I have my rent probated for the period without AC. And hopefully a change in their policy that provides a contingency for longer term maintenance issues. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories in today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.